Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Every Rocky Ever, a Colorado Rockies podcast here for Rocky Mountain Rooftop Network, part of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Skyler Timmons, and joined here as the school year is about to start in his classroom, it's my brother, Dustin.
Ahoy, hoy. Good thing I got my classroom all set up. I moved, for those watching YouTube, my Rockies championship banner right there. National League champs.
Yeah, we got to get you some more Rockies pennants and bobbleheads and stuff to put in your classroom.
Yeah, but it's looking...
Got all his flags.
Good. Little Hasbula. So we're ready to go.
Yeah, good stuff. Hey, you can go find some bobbleheads on eBay. I've been looking at those. They're across the board.
Yeah, I've got my little...
Get.
I just have some Star Wars bobbleheads and Piccolo.
It's okay.
But
Charlie Blackman's eye looking like he got hit by Piccolo.
It's okay.
It's okay, Piccolo. But yeah, fun stuff. School year's right around the corner. It's already started pretty much for Dustin as he's getting ready. So we'll always try to pick up some more of these here with Every Rocky Ever and sneak them in while we can. And as we're recording, it's one of his just teacher work days. So we'll sneak one in here. But we've tried to figure out, well, what should we do? We've talked about Todd Helton recently. We've talked about some closers. We've talked about notable players for the Rockies. And we figured, hey, what can we do? Yeah, let's do some random guys, some filler guys. And this is an episode we've talked about before. And we've covered some guys that would have fit into this category. But it's the random, I don't know how to describe it, the random guys that were really good ball players, had some really good careers, that just happened to be Rockies at some point. And it's really random, super weird. And it's more that guy was a Rocky is kind of the category of this.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys is at the tail end of their career.
Mm-hmm.
And we're like, dang, if it would have been 10 years before this, like, I want that version of this guy.
Yeah. If we could have gotten the prime version.
Yes.
Instead of the name brand, we usually just got the generic brand that we bought from Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe a little expired. The discount section.
Yep. Bought it on Temu.
Yeah. We got the Wish version.
Yes.
But you can look at this list of guys that we'll talk about. Not a lot of them to highlight. There's one that we really won't highlight that much because nobody likes him. But generally just some good ball players in their careers that just made a little brief stop in Colorado. Didn't really do much. It's just sort of extending the career for some. But some interesting names on here. And the first one is probably one of the biggest names on here that honestly should be in the Hall of Fame. One day, hopefully, he gets in there on the Veterans Committee and all that good stuff. But it's one Dale Murphy, an original Rocky in the 1993 season, who just so happened to be in a Rockies uniform at the very end of his career. And we'll give it to Dustin here for the quick little rundown on this guy named Dale Murphy.
Dale Murphy. Now, when we were texting each other, I totally saw Daniel Murphy. And I said, oh, no, not that guy. But Dale Murphy's a little better, even though his stint with the Rockies was just, you blinked and it was over. Mm-hmm. But Dale Murphy, number 3, all of his career, outfielder, first baseman, catcher from Portland, Oregon, who was drafted by the Braves in the first round of the 74 draft, right out of high school. He made his major league debut in 1976 and just played, like you said, should be a Hall of Famer. He's a 2-time MVP, 5-time Gold Glove, 7-time All-Star, 4-time Silver Slugger. Just monstrous with Atlanta, the Phillies, and in 1993 signed with the Rockies and just played in 26 games.
Mm-hmm.
And he was it's one of those like you said, oh wait, he was a Rocky? Oh, he was. And I think we were talking about, the Rocky. He signed with the Rockies kind of like Bernie Mac and Mr. 3000 trying to get 400 home runs, and they could do that in the thin air, but it did not happen at all. So that was his career, just phenomenal offensively his whole career, and then ended up in Denver in that 93 season for a month, playing a little bit of right field and left field, and that was all.
Yeah. Yeah, they're in that 93 season, plays 26 games, just 42 or 49 plate appearances. He had 6 hits, 1 run scored. He did have a double, so we got 1 extra base hit in there. Drove in 7 runs, 15 strikeouts, 5 walks. So not a lot to write home about. He had an OPS plus of 1. So a 391 OPS. Then the park adjusted version drops it to 1. 7 total bases. So he hit into 5 double plays. Yeesh. Yeah, just not a whole lot to write home about for this guy who had an incredible career in the big leagues with the Atlanta Braves.
And he just needed 2 homers. That's all he needed.
Yeah. He just wanted those 2 home runs, and he said it was his goal to hit 400 home runs. He said, I should have done it. I had plenty of pitches and plenty of opportunities to do it. I didn't do it. I'm thankful to be able to be around and hit those that I did. So he can see, like, yeah, he could have had it. And that was a big reason of why he joined the Rockies. But after 26 games, all those at-bats, decided to call it quits. The Rockies had been hinting that that he was going to be released, probably. But then he just kind of beat him to the punch. Said, no, I'm going to call it quits. I have no problem with that getting released and stuff. But he's said of his probable release, they have to do what they have to do. I haven't really been doing the job, which was fairly obvious. So humble guy realizing what he's doing, not really, maybe saving some face there. He's like, I'm just going to call it quits. It's not working out for me.
Yeah, that's hard because, like you said, it's so random, and especially for an expansion team, you're gonna have guys like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the Rockies' super old veteran. He wasn't even that old though.
No, he was 37, I think.
Yeah, 37. But man, what a career!
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's got a lot of ties in Utah and stuff. So playing in Colorado was probably a pretty cool thing for him.
Yeah, and I think he's part of the group trying to bring Major League Baseball to Salt Lake. I think he's part of that ownership group trying to push forward and get things going. So, he's still heavily involved in baseball and just they're in the culture there in Utah and stuff. To where he lives, he talks at BYU sports benefit dinners all the time for baseball and stuff. So he's really involved in baseball still, which is really cool. And he's still going around and sharing that influence around. But yeah, it just didn't work out. Just a blink and you'll miss it. 2 months as a Rocky, and then he was gone. Ended his career.
And I think when you end a career like that, unless you do your homework or him, Dale Murphy, okay, who was he? But as you dive into two-time MVP and the 7-time All-Star, 5 Gold Gloves, 4 Silver Sluggers, he was always there was that stretch from 1982 to 1987. He's 6 All-Star games, won the 2 MVPs, was in the MVP voting, Gold Gloves, just legit. Playing 162 games each year, that's a pretty solid stretch right there.
Yeah.
And you don't really notice that until you dig in and, okay, wait, what? Who is he?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. And then you're kind of like, well, why isn't he in the Hall of Fame? Those numbers compare, with such and such and such and such.
Yeah. How many people do you think own a Dale Murphy Rockies jersey?
Yeah.
Like they see him get signed and they're like, oh yeah, we got Dale Murphy. That's sick. And then they go and get a number 3 jersey.
No.
So I'm trying to search here on eBay. What can we find? Oh, here you go. A number 3 Dale Murphy 1993 BP jersey medium, $48 here on eBay, plus $9.99 shipping.
Get out of here.
That is the only listing that I'm seeing for anything else. Everything else is Braves and and whatnot. So
Yeah.
hey, there you go. You've got $60 to spend. Get yourself a medium Dale Murphy BP jersey.
I'm a little too fat for that.
Yeah, just what a weird little instance. And no, he's still involved. Like back in 2005, he started a foundation, I Don't Cheat, to promote honesty to young athletes and the dangers of performance-enhancing drugs. He's also does a ton of charity work. Operation Smile, a nonprofit organization that performs surgery on children born with a cleft palate. In 2017, he opened a restaurant in Atlanta called Murph's. Yeah, and that was as of 2019 over on the Saber website, his little biography. Good stuff. Good, solid dude. He's done a lot of good stuff too since his playing days. But Rockies legend Dale Murphy.
Yes, sir. Mark him off the list.
Yeah, I'd love to get a jersey just for the heck of it, or a shirt or something. That'd be sweet. And people are like, "What the heck?" Daniel Murphy. That's the thing. You'd get people asking about Daniel Murphy. Like, no, this is Dale Murphy.
Well, I just looked at your text and thought it was Daniel Murphy, and I was like,
Yeah.
ugh, beer league Murphy, get out of here. Total opposites.
Yeah. What a career for him. Just happened to be part of Rocky's history. Super weird. But moving along here to our next guy. This is one. We'll keep going in order of just the timeline of Rocky's history. Flash forwarding to 1995, a longtime Mets pitcher had a lot of success there and came over to the Rockies in 1995 at the deadline. One Bret Saberhagen comes over to the Rockies.
Now, I can time back more than you can because when I think of Bret Saberhagen, I think of Kansas City Royal.
Mm-hmm.
And not because that's Bret Saberhagen with the Rockies wore number 31, but also 38. That's what it says on Baseball Reference. But this guy, in his prime, when he was a young gun, a legit arm for the Kansas City Royals, 2-time Cy Young, 3-time All-Star, 1985 World Series champ, a Gold Glove winner, a World Series MVP, ERA title. The dude, when he was a kid, was legit. Out of Chicago Heights, Illinois, drafted in 1982 draft by the Royals, and made his debut in 1984. And like you said, he played for the Royals, and then he went to the Mets for a few years. And at the trade deadline in 1995, the Mets were kind of doing the fire sale. They got rid of Bobby Bonilla, and they got rid of Bret Saberhagen, trading him to the Rockies, who at the time were running the West.
Mm-hmm.
And they were hoping they could get Saberhagen to help anchor down the bullpen that was kind of, teetering away. The Rockies traded they got Bret Saberhagen for Arnie Gooch and Juan Acevedo. And later on, the Mets sent Dave Swanson, minor leaguer, to the Rockies. And it just didn't pan out.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly, injuries took Bret Saberhagen away, because he was a horse
Mm-hmm.
in his early career, but then it kind of peeled on down. He had a revival after with the 1996. He didn't play because he was injured, and then he goes over to Boston for 3 years. 1998 and 1999 had pretty solid seasons, and then made a comeback in 2001 and called it quits.
Mm-hmm.
But he's another one, Bret Saberhagen. When people think that, like, Cy Young, MVP, World Series winner, Bret Saberhagen. The mullet, Saberhagen.
Yeah, another one of those guys. If only we had had him 5 years earlier or something like that.
Dude,
No,
you
but
give me the 1985 and the 1989 Bret Saberhagen. Dude, the 89 Saberhagen 2.16 ERA.
mhm,
But get this. 262 and a thirds innings pitched.
mhm.
What? What? Dude, we can't even get Rockies pitchers to throw more than 100.
Yeah.
Oh wait, our bullpen does.
Yeah, you look at it, dude was a workhorse throughout that early part of his career. That probably contributed to arm injuries that then, start to stack up later in his career as the body gets older. But still, 1994, he was an all-star, had a 2.74 ERA, went 14-4, made 24 starts, 143 strikeouts to just 13 walks in the strike-shortened season.
Yeah, he had more wins than walks.
Mhm.
That's crazy.
Finished 3rd in the Cy Young that year. Probably could have gone on to win it if the season hadn't been cut short. Been up there, but man. So then he's got that big money, and Rocky's in a playoff push. Roll the dice to get this legit arm, and it just doesn't work out in Colorado. 9 starts, has a 6.28 ERA in 43 innings. Had 29 strikeouts and 13 walks. Gave up 8 home runs, 60 hits allowed. So it just did not pan out too well for him there. And maybe he lost like 2 weeks to injury there later on. Did end up pitching in the postseason with them, but gave up 6 runs on 7 hits in 4 innings against the Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, and who was Atlanta pitching that day? Greg Maddux.
Mhm.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
Yeah, so it's a move that could have turned out really well for the playoff push, but I think the injuries and then just him just being so ineffective in a Rockies uniform, it didn't pan out in that one year. And the injuries just stacked up, misses 1996. So he was gonna be with the Rockies those 2 years, wasn't he? But the injury lost all of '96 for him, and then he goes and signs with the Red Sox, try and make his comeback. So, man, if he doesn't get injured and he starts the season with the Rockies, maybe he does a little better. Who knows? Crazy, crazy
Yeah,
stuff.
that's another one though that he the it was like, dang, this guy's going to be Hall of Fame, and then it pitters out and injuries took him, and then there's the whole like post playing on his first year in the ballot. He's like, even if I get elected, I don't want to go in because Pete Rose wants to. So there's a lot of like
Yeah.
drama there,
Mhm.
and so kind of taints some things. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. One of those like really good player, but then some of the off the field stuff, you're like, what are you doing, man? But oh well. But still, little brief instance as a Rocky. Didn't go too well. Rockies got on the hook for some money, but hey, at least they tried something there in their first playoff year.
Well, you look at it and like the money they were spending then compared to now.
Yeah.
Eh.
Because what was he making? Let's see there. In 1995, oh man, he was getting paid $5.5 million that year.
Eh.
And then 1996, he got paid 5.6 from the Rockies. So, oof, man. Chump change nowadays.
Yeesh. Because did they have to pay any of that?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
or at least they took over the next year. So, but yeah, Bret Saberhagen.
Keep that mullet flowing.
Here for a short time. Didn't do much. But hey, again, they at least tried something on the way to a playoff appearance. Just didn't pan out. But moving along here to our next guy, we've had Dale Murphy, Bret Saberhagen, and now the next one, I believe the next one, we'll go with one Roy Oswalt. I don't know if this is the same chronologically, but I'll just throw Roy Oswalt in there.
Yeah, that works.
I think Kevin Millwood comes in closer, but we'll talk about him in a little bit. But Roy Oswalt.
Roy Oswalt, the right-handed pitcher who from Mississippi. He was drafted by the Astros back in the 96 amateur draft. And that's who when I think of Roy Oswalt, I think of Astros, like the Maroon Star Astros,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like the still National League. Were they? Yeah, they were still National League back then. 3-time All-Star, ERA title, NLCS MVP, number 44, Roy Oswalt, who played for Houston, went over to Philadelphia, to Texas, and then in 2013, he signs over with the Rockies. Just a free agent deal in the middle of the season in May of 2013. And it was, 9 games is what he made. I remember he got a bad hamstring injury, and that put him on the shelf for a while. But realistically, Skyler, there's only one thing we remember Roy Oswalt for in a Rockies uniform, and we talked about it in our last episode about Todd Helton. But thanks to Roy Oswalt picking off to first base, Todd was able to do the hidden ball trick.
Yeah. Picked off, was able to pick up on what Todd Helton was doing, played his part perfectly, and they pick off Matt Carpenter.
Oh, good grief. And didn't he have a play at the plate? Isn't that how he pulled his hamstring?
I think so, yeah. There was a play at the plate, and he pulled his hammy.
Because he was running to cover. He he threw a wild pitch, goes to cover home, and pops his hamstring?
Yeah.
It was one of those come on, dude. he went 0-6, an 8.63 ERA, in those 9 appearances, 32 innings, 49 hits. That was the other thing. It was like throwing meatballs.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, just getting hammered.
Yeah. That whip, his whip was the highest of his career. Didn't walk a lot of guys. 34 strikeouts to 9 walks.
And he only gave up 3 home runs. That's bizarre to me, having that high of an ERA and that many hits, and only 3 of them were homers.
Yeah. But when they were hitting it, it was let's see here. Do they have the hard hit rate on here? No, they do not. But giving up, he had a 39% ground ball rate, which was the lowest of his career. But he was just giving up line drives. 29% of the hits or batted balls were line drives. Yeah, everything else, no, maybe a little higher walks, but that fit into his career average. Yeah, everything else, but they hit 358 against him with a 518 slugging, 447 batting average on balls in play, BABIP. So they were putting it in play, they were getting hits. So Coors Field wasn't too kind to him, I don't think.
No. Yeah. And he was another one, his career in Houston, a 3.24 ERA. With the 2 years in Philadelphia, 2.96. Like, the dude was a solid starter.
Mm-hmm.
And anytime you got a guy that has more wins than losses, it's pretty good. In his 13-year career, he won 163 ball games.
Mm-hmm.
He was a 20-game winner back-to-back seasons, 2004 and 2005 with Houston.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Roy Oswalt that I remember, the one that I think of, and not this poor guy that was, no more gas left in the tank. And on Baseball Reference, it says he was 6 foot, but I remember Roy Oswalt being so much smaller than that, and that was part of like his makeup. He's a
Mm-hmm.
small dude, but he can throw the gas.
Mm-hmm.
Like he goes and he whips it over.
Yeah.
And it was just that 2013 season, kind of those early the 2010s. You're just like, oh, those are disasters.
And I remember him getting signed and then following like what he was doing. Oh, in his little minor league spring training type stuff, looking good. You'd hear the reports of, oh, he looks good. He's got this 1.6 something ERA in his 6 innings. Everything's looking good. So he'll probably be, on the big league team here pretty soon. And so I was just sitting there like, oh, this is going to be good. Now we got this veteran guy who's had a really good career. He's going to come in and this is going to help the Rockies. And then he just does not do well. First outing, not too bad. 4 runs over 5 innings. But again, like you were saying, it's the
Didn't
hit.
he have 11 strikeouts that game?
Yeah, he punched out 11 guys, no walks, 4 runs on 9 hits over 5 innings. But that was the thing, is just the hits. First 9 hits. His first 3 starts, he gave up 9 hits apiece.
Oof.
And then then he gets injured on July 7th. But the makings of a good start. 1 run on 2 hits in an inning and 2/3. But then he comes back, 5 runs on 4 hits, and then 2 runs on 7 hits, then 4 runs on 5 hits. Then they move him to a relief role. When he comes back, I think that was the thing they were going to like, oh, let's see if he can just do some relief stuff. Since we're figuring out a rotation. He at least ends his career on a scoreless outing, throwing 1 scoreless inning against the Dodgers in 2013. Then he retires after the year.
Dang. And once again, that's sad that a dude with that caliber arm and that pedigree to end up in the Colorado Rockies bullpen.
Yeah.
Pitching
for them in late September.
Oof.
But
dang, the guy deserves something better.
He at least signed a 1-day contract with the Astros to officially retire in 2014. So
yeah,
he didn't finish his career as a Rocky, technically.
Yeah, I wouldn't claim that either. Oh,
yeah.
Well, especially after such a good career in Houston.
Mm-hmm. Don't want to finish it like that.
Yeah, and being from Mississippi, that's not too far away from Houston, and that's cool when they're able to do that, because then it's like they never left.
Yeah, maybe the Rockies should have done that with a couple of their guys. Carlos Gonzalez, Seattle Mariners legend. Yeah, Roy Oswalt, another one of those, like, if we had him just like 5 years earlier at least.
Dude, yeah, give me that early 2000s, the middle 2000s Roy Oswalt. Oh yeah.
Imagine you get somehow snag Roy Oswalt at the 2005 or 2007. Add to your 2007 rotation. Ooh. That would have been good. Or something like that. 2009 even.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? Anyways, that's Roy Oswalt. Short and brief. Another one of those really good career. Just sort of showed up in Rockies uniform. Same with Dale Murphy. How many people have a Roy Oswalt Rockies jersey?
Chill.
$150 over on MLB Shop. Customize it. But yeah, that's Roy Oswalt. Moving on to our next one, another pitcher. This one I always remember fondly. It's old Kevin Millwood.
Oh yeah. So Kevin Millwood, another right-handed pitcher. He was out of Gastonia, North Carolina. He's a one-time All-Star, won an ERA title, wore number 34 throughout his career is what I remember him. But with the Rockies, he had number 40. Drafted by the Atlanta Braves in the 93 amateur draft. Made his major league debut in 97. And he was an all-star one season with Atlanta, played from 97 till 2002 with Atlanta, then went to the Philadelphia Phillies for 2 seasons in Cleveland, and that's where he won his ERA title, pitched to a 2.86 ERA. Then went to Texas, Baltimore, and came over to the Rockies in 2011, and after went over to the Seattle Mariners for a season. But he had, with the Rockies, he just signed as a free agent late in August or early August of 2011, and kind of finished out there. Just try to plug up some holes. I think Juan Nicasio got hurt, and they brought Kevin Millwood up, and he was a guy like you said. I really like Kevin Millwood. He, looking at his stuff, he wasn't that blazing, superstar, lights out pitcher, but he fit the mold at the time, a sinker baller, and a guy that can eat up some innings.
Yeah, and that was what I always remember him is. There's this big old guy, and so I'm like, oh, he looks like a decent little pitcher that can eat some innings and stuff. And he comes in, makes those 9 starts, 3.98 ERA, 54 innings. Goes 4-3. Here's the big thing: 36 strikeouts, just 8 walks. So he's just pounding the zone, which you don't get a whole lot with your sinker ballers. Did give up 9 home runs, but you can deal with that. But it's just getting a nice little stopgap type of guy to just eat some innings when you're just trying to figure out your pitching staff. But they had signed him. He had just been released by I think it was New York or Boston, one of those two. Yeah, he gets released by the Red Sox, and the Rockies snag him there in August, just 2 days after he's released by the Red Sox, he had been in the minors, and they signed him like, hey, we need some innings here. And so he finishes out the year with them. But he was a reliable guy on the mound. And at the plate, he hit 2 home runs in a Rockies uniform.
Yeah, that's what I remember him from. But Kevin Millwood, we look at it now, some of those older veteran pitchers, this would have been a perfect thing. If we could get this kind of production the last couple seasons from a guy, you spread that out, he was able to win 4 games. He had a sub-4 ERA. Yeah. So he was doing something right.
Well, looking at his game logs, of his 9 starts, he failed to go 5 innings just once. But he allowed, let's see here, at least 3 runs, 3 or fewer runs in 6 of those starts. So 3 or fewer in 6 of those starts. He went 7 innings 4 different times in a start. So across the board, he's getting a ton of stuff done. Doing work. They weren't flashy. Yeah, he's going to give up hits and runs and stuff, but doing enough to keep your team competitive for the most part in enough of those starts.
Yeah, and he's another one in his career. Almost, he had over 2,700 innings pitched, won 169 games in a 16-year career. Pretty good. For some reason, when I think of Kevin Millwood, I think of Atlanta Braves, but Cleveland. His name pops up in my mind so much, and I don't know why. I just relate Kevin Millwood with Cleveland so much. I know he won his ERA title there, but it was just one season. But when I think of Kevin Millwood, it always pops up in Cleveland. Yeah. And maybe it's because I'm just mixing him with the Braves in Cleveland, because kind of the same color schemes a little bit. But I think he's one that I'm like, yeah, I remember when Kevin Millwood pitched for the Rockies. That was good.
Yeah. Had a no-hitter in his career with the Phillies. Then all kinds had that big contract in Texas. And then he goes to the Orioles. Yeah, and then just kind of bounced around a little bit, and then Rocky snagged him for a little bit. And then he goes and gets a nice little keeps it going with the Mariners. Gets his 2000th career strikeout and whatnot. So
And
he's one of those nice little ones.
then he goes and pitches against the Rockies and throws a shutout, you
Yeah.
know.
Gotta get those revenge games in.
I guess.
Yeah. It's odd little one, but he's one that panned out. Like, oh yeah, Kevin Millwood. He's not one of the big flashier names, but a nice solid career for him.
Mm-hmm.
Over his career. What did he win? Won 169 games in his big league career, 4.11 ERA. Not too shabby, nice and solid.
For never
Three
being
strikes.
that number one rotation guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a solid middle rotation dude.
Mm-hmm. Need some innings, like had 190 innings several times throughout his career, 200 plus innings through those early 2000s. Good stuff. Good old Kevin Millwood. Yeah, I just remember him hitting home runs a couple of times. Just that big dude, because he's the big stocky dude, and just whack.
Oh yeah, he got that North Carolina in him.
Mm-hmm.
6'4",
Big country.
230.
Mm-hmm.
Sheesh. Oh yeah, you grab that twig and swing it real hard, like, and man, and he only had 4 career home runs.
Yeah, and
Come
2 of
on
them were
now.
there in Colorado.
Yeah, you got to get in that rarefied air.
Yeah, he had 3 hits, 2 of them were home runs. He had 3 ribbies, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk. He did get down 3 sack bunts. So there you go.
Oh, the lost art of the sack bunt.
Mm-hmm. Hey, his 158 batting average was the highest of his career.
Nice.
He slugged 474 in a Rockies uniform.
Oh yeah.
Small sample size, but hey, it works. But yeah, good stuff. But that'll be Kevin Millwood. And we have one last one that's kind of a throw in so we can just get it done and over with. I don't think anybody in Colorado is a fan of this player. And if you are,
Yeah.
why? But it's a piece in the Troy Tulowitzki trade. It's one Jose Reyes.
You know, all we are talking about on this podcast right now about this player is baseball.
Mm-hmm.
We're not talking about outside of baseball with this guy. But Jose Reyes, shortstop, is what he was known for. He was a 4-time All-Star, Silver Slugger, batting title, wore number 7. And I think as Rockies fans, we despise him.
Mm-hmm.
But he was from Santiago, Dominican Republic, and made his major league debut in 2003. And he was a Mets guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's where he was. Made his name. From the Mets, went to Miami, to Toronto, and then, you remember what happened. This is what happened. And this is the second time he was involved in a big time trade. Because when he was with the Marlins, signed big free agent in 2011, and the very next year they said, "All right, peace." And the Marlins sent him and Mark Burley, Josh Johnson, John Buck, Emilio Bonifacio to Toronto, and him, and they got. I'm looking at these names like, dang, this is a big time deal.
Mm-hmm.
And he played for Toronto, and then on July 28th, 2015, all of us were beating our heads against the wall. Even though we knew that the marriage between Troy Tulowitzki and the Rockies was, on the fritz, the Rockies trade Troy Tulowitzki and LaTroy Hawkins for Jose Reyes. Miguel Castro, Jeff Hoffman, Jesus Tinoco, and we hated every minute of it.
And I think wasn't it a big part of it too? Is Jose Reyes was kind of pretty like outspoken about how displeased he was to be going to the Rockies.
Yeah, that was part of it. And we just didn't like him just because.
Yeah.
And so,
That's-
like, he comes over and everybody's like, you're not replacing Troy Tulowitzki. We hate you. We don't want you here.
Yeah.
And it took the Rockies until June 23rd of 2016 to release him.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was hurt a lot of the time too, wasn't he?
I don't know. This is the era where I'm in Oregon, so I'm not
Oh,
really paying attention to the Rockies.
I think that was the deal. But once the Rockies got rid of him, he signed with the Mets again and again. But it was, dude, he like the baseball Jose Reyes was pretty dynamic.
Yeah.
You know, he was good as a New York Met, and he fit that, you know, in the Big Apple
Mm-hmm.
and things. In Toronto, you saw it really tail off. He's still very good hitter. You know, a career 283 hitter, and switch hitter. But then with the Rockies, I think it was just that, like, we gave up our franchise shortstop and got this guy.
Yeah. Because it was like a contract exchange too. In order to dump off Tulowitzki's contract, we had to take on his contract. And so we could get more of those prospects and stuff. So just a weird bad trade in the sense where he's okay in 47 games, 259 with 3 homers, 19 ribbies. Like okay, like not great, but and then he has his off-field stuff that then puts him on kind of administrative leave, and then once it's possible, the Rockies then release him. But as soon as allegations come out against him, they're like, "Yeah, you're done here." And then it opens the door for Trevor Story and whatnot. So that's good.
Yeah,
Just a bad look all around. Of here's a guy who doesn't want to be here, doesn't want to be on this team, and like that's understandable. I would be mad too if I was on a team aiming for the playoffs and then I get traded to whatever the Rockies are doing. And you're getting replaced by another guy who was on a Hall of Fame trajectory. Yeah, just awful. And he was getting paid 22 million that we had to pay him. We still had to pay him through 2018. No, through 2018. Yeah, the Rockies were still paying him through 2018,
oof.
even after we had released him from the contract and nobody picked him up. So then we had to pay him. But we had to pay him $21.46 million in 2017 after he had signed with the Mets.
Yeah,
Ugh.
that one, and I think it's just the bad taste of that trade.
Yeah.
You know, we love Troy Tulowitzki, and at the time, he loved. You know, I never heard him. I've heard him throw the shade at the franchise, like a lot of post players do, but never once did they talk bad about the fans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Troy Tulowitzki, the people loved him, and I think he liked playing there, liked the fans. But Jose Reyes, it was just not
Yeah.
a thing. And then the outside baseball stuff, and it's like, you know what, you already like came in with a bad taste, and now we just really
Yeah.
don't want you here.
Yeah.
But he was a good player though.
Yeah. And, has a good little resurgence in his second stint with the Mets after the Rockies. And so it was always just part of the like, ugh, why is this guy getting another chance in the big leagues too?
Yeah.
Ew. But ugh. But the funny stuff though is there's one thing that unites Rockies fans, and it's a dislike of Jose Reyes, I think. But
Mm-hmm.
even here on Twitter on the original post, got our friend Evan Lang just saying yuck.
Ah,
A lot of people.
amen, Evan. Amen.
We've got a Turd Ferguson saying please delete. And the Jamie Zimmerson saying worst Rocky ever. Stephen Cross just saying boo. Benjamin Shoemate saying just when I had convinced myself it was just a dream. People just putting up puke emojis. Another delete this, boo, ratio. Somebody, Mr. Irrelevant saying boo with 5 tomato emojis. One guy saying, wow, what a Rocks legend. We've also got somebody posting a Bud Black GIF using some colorful language. Saying that's awful, but with some expletives in there. Yeah. Could have skipped this one, says Blake Street Banner. So, yeah, a lot of folks would like to forget about old Jose Reyes.
Yeah,
For
but
good reason.
that's good that we get that kind of reaction, though.
Trying to see if I can get some of these other guys in here.
Might have had to block the guys who was like, yeah, I loved him.
Yeah.
You're done.
But a quick run through here on Twitter if I can find any more. Some folks with Roy Oswalt, obviously. David at Wild the Innocent puts the hidden ball trick there. So yeah, that's all we remember from him. Oof, those stats are rough. Dale Murphy, we can see. Dale Murphy. Not a whole lot here on Murph. Somebody just posts the 398 home runs. Yes, we remember. That's what they point out. The home runs. They just needed 2 more in the thin air for 400. Fortunately, it didn't happen. Let's see. Bret Saberhagen. It's the thing. A lot of these guys, there's these people that have the memories of them. A lot of those random trivia ones. Bret Saberhagen. Guy says stole Montfort money.
How?
I don't know.
He wasn't even around. He
wasn't around that long.
Come on, man.
They probably just see the stats. But Evan says Colorado Rockies legend Bret Saberhagen. And our last one, Kevin Millwood. It's funny that of these guys, when we post them on Twitter, it was Jose Reyes who got the most interaction. Yeah, here's some. I forgot he ever pitched for the Rockies. For Kevin Millwood, someone said it's been 11 years already. Yeesh, that is true. When we posted this in 2022, it had been 11 years. And then someone asked, 2 home runs, pretty impressive. Who would y'all say is the best hitting pitcher other than Hampton? Jennings, Marquez, Bohannon? I'd probably say Marquez.
I'm thinking, yeah, on that topic real quick, it's got to be Marquez as an all-around hitter, and then Jason Jennings, number 2, because he could slug it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was a DH at Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're talking being a two-way player. You know, Jason Jennings, man, pretty legit.
Yeah. Sometime we'll cover him on the show.
But you give me a Colorado Rockies alumni pitcher home run derby. Yeah, that's what we're talking. We're talking Hampton, Marquez, Jennings, Millwood. That's one of my sleepers right there.
You can get up in there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. A lot of good stuff. But yeah, I think that'll do it here for this edition of Every Rocky Ever. This one probably ran a little longer than we maybe intended for it, but it was a good fun one. Going down memory lane with some of these guys. Some more than others. But yeah, there's plenty more we could have maybe thrown into this list, or other guys we have talked about, like a Jamie Moyer or Jason Giambi. No, there's Sandy Alomar Jr. we could have thrown in here, or
Ooh,
some other guys, but you can look through the history.
We can wait and pair him up with his dad because he was a coach.
Yeah.
We'll have another father and son episode
Mhm.
again.
But you can look through tons of teams, but it just goes back to maybe with the Rockies of why are they getting some of these guys at the very tail end of their career instead of getting players of that caliber who are younger and in the primes of their careers. It's sometimes relying on names rather than talent at that time.
Yeah, and then the problem with the Rockies with that is they are really focused on the homegrown. And so they hold on to these prospects because they're homegrown when they could flip those homegrown guys for the primes of the Roy Oswalts, the Bret Saberhagen types in their prime, but they don't want to give up those prospects because
Mhm.
we're homegrown.
Yeah.
Or they have these things, and it's like, well, you got them at the tail end of their career. That's why you didn't get the results you wanted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's and you can still see how they run their team now. Of you're getting guys who were good maybe 5 years ago, but they're not doing much anything right now. They're getting paid $27 million a year to sit on the injured list most of the time.
Well, then we got guys, that we'll get into some of these that were like the 1 year guys, Jeremy Burnett's, Todd Hollinsworth, Greg Vaughn. He was a left fielder, and he was an all-star that year. I can't think of
Jeffrey
his name.
Hammonds?
Jeffrey Hammonds. It was like one season they were like going downward. They pick him up and boom, have a career year, and then all right, see ya.
Yeah. Weird stuff. But yeah, interesting.
We'll have to we got to put that list together. Get a few of like those guys specifically of the 1 year wonder, like 1 year career revivals.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, thanks for coming.
Yeah. Enjoy not hitting in Colorado anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, fun stuff. Interesting roster this Rockies team has had over the years, but that'll do it here on Every Rocky Ever. You can find us at Every Rocky Ever over on Twitter. You can also go follow Rocky Mountain Rooftop. It's ROCKYMTN Rooftop over on Twitter and Instagram. Find me at sideline_crowd and writing for Purple Row and doing stuff for Fans for Sports Network. And you can follow Dustin at Vamos Rockies. Get him some more followers. I think he's up to maybe 10.
I've got 6. I keep having to block all the bots that are on there.
Yeah.
So I need real people, real Rockies fans.
Yeah.
I'm good for some snarky comments every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just follow all of you guys that do the Rockies content and see all of your guys' stuff. But that's what I love. Go Rockies.
Yeah, you can follow us. Check out our other episodes over on YouTube and in your favorite podcasting platform. Look back through our other history and other guys we've talked about. But until next time, farewell.
Farewell.